All right, let's do this thing. All right, we're all set. All right, what's up, everybody? Matthew Bruni here with the Bengal Tiger on 3. Signing day, real quick, like a 20-30 minute stream just to talk, interact with y'all, run through what's happened so far. And signing day, obviously, a lot of players have already signed. If y'all been following the site, you are caught up to everything that has happened throughout the day. But we can go through all that. We can go through who still is left to sign. We can go through some Desmond Ricks stuff. Billy and Shay will have a full recruiting podcast either later this evening or tomorrow morning. We haven't exactly worked it out yet with a lot of things going on, but I wanted to get on here and just talk to y'all real quick. So if y'all have any questions, concerns, drop them in the chat below. Again, we'll go for about 20-30 minutes, probably till about 1, and go from there. So I will, like I said, I will answer. I can show y'all's comments on here and answer them. Larry asked about Nicholas Harbor. He won't be signing until February. A lot still to go on in that recruitment. But yeah, drop your comments, questions, concerns, and we can get into it here. All right. I can also share my screen, so we'll get all of that good stuff. Let me do that. Share screen. And we can just start running through these commits, or these signees, I should say, rather. All right, let's zoom in here. All right, let's start at the top. This is who's signed so far and how we evaluate, or I'm not an evaluator, but just what I think about them moving forward. Zalen's Hurd, obviously the top player in this class according to the consensus. I think Hurd and Womack 1-2 are pretty comfortable to me. Like that's the top 2 players in this class, if you asked me, based on the film. Based on kind of, like I said, consensus rankings and ratings, I think you look at these two and you say, all right, you have Zalen's Hurd, a guy who played with Will Campbell already at Neville. Just a monster of a body, 6'6". The arms are there. He moves really well at the tackle position. I think he's a 5-star. He's a comfortable 5-star to me on tape. Deshaun Womack is my number 2 as well. You look at a guy that you want to replace BJ Ojulari, and Deshaun Womack could step into that role immediately as a freshman. We'll have to see. He's obviously kind of light at 245, but that's for that jack position, that's not that light. So I have Zalen's Hurd 1 and Deshaun Womack 2 in this class pretty comfortably. Then you get past there and it starts to mix up a little bit. I won't go through my full rankings. I think I'll probably post that on the board later today once everybody's signed. But you have a guy like Toviano, Jalen Brown, and DJ Chester. These 3, I look at DJ Chester and I'm like, that's a guy who I think could have the highest upside of these 3. And that's saying something because Toviano and Brown are awesome. DJ Chester is a guy who I could see starting on the interior offensive line for years. Maybe even if he doesn't start as a freshman, sophomore, we'll see. And we go from sophomore, junior, or redshirt freshman, all those different times where he could start. I think DJ Chester is going to be a monster. Jalen Brown, JV, and Toviano, also very, very good players. Getting Toviano out of Arlington was a huge recruiting win for them. And to get him signed, less than a week after he committed is huge as well. So Toviano is in the wagon. That's big time for this defensive back room that needs guys. And Jalen Brown, man, he can move. He's the speedster. Obviously, Kyle Parker is really fast as well, and Shelton Sampson just can move. But to me, Jalen Brown is one of those guys that you kind of get him on the field, and he's 6'1" too. He's not small. He's thin, but he's not small. So you hope that he can continue to develop and grow on the outside. Jalen Brown's a guy that I really, really like at the receiver position. So you look at the top 5 here: Hurd, Womack, Toviano, Brown, and Chester. And obviously, these are guys that have signed. So you have Shelton Sampson, who we'll get to later, hasn't signed yet, but he will sign today. I believe it's today at 1, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, you look at those top 5 and you're feeling really good. So let's go to the comments real quick. Justin Venable says Pimpton should be a beast for LSU. 100%. I expect Kamari and Pimpton to be really good. We'll get to him in a bit. Do you think they have the potential to flip or sign someone else today? I don't believe that they will be that there's nobody on our radar. I'll say that. And I think obviously you look at Desmond Ricks tomorrow, that's going to be the big name everybody's going to be holding on to. So there's no flips, I would say. For those who don't know, Dalen Austin flipped from LSU to Oregon today, that was a big deal, but we kind of saw it coming. If you go down for other players that could sign, which I think we'll get to later on, you got Shelton Sampson, Caleb Jackson, Christian Brathwaite, Jeremiah Hughes, all have not signed yet. But LSU is in a good position with all of them, and we kind of expect them to sign. All right, let's see what else we got here. Kareem asked, percent chance LSU gets Desmond Ricks. Shay has been all over this. Billy too. Shay and Billy have been all over this. So got to give them credit because they have been the leaders in the industry in terms of following this up. It feels like everyone's pretty confident at this point. I'm not going to make a bold prediction here, but I think LSU is pretty confident with where they stand. If I had to put a percentage on it, just off what I'm seeing and reading and hearing, obviously, like I said, I'm not an insider like Shay and Billy, but if I had to put a percentage on it, I would probably say 60, 70. Alabama and Florida will continue to make their pushes late for Desmond Ricks going into tomorrow. And we kind of see where it goes from there. But you feel good about it. You feel good about it. You feel better than you did, a week ago or 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I don't even know if people thought it was realistic, but now it's going there. Let's see if there's anything else here before we continue on. Okay, Rick's, and there are all Rick's questions here. Snow's my buddy asked about Rick's. Yeah, I feel pretty confident. Like I said, there's so much, 24 hours from now we'll see. But Desmond Ricks is going to get a big push from Florida and Alabama today. We'll see if he sticks. As far as we think LSU is in the lead, we'll see if that holds true tomorrow as well. Anybody else a concern to flip? Not really. No, I think you look at Dalen Austin was the only one that we thought was going to be a concern for LSU, and obviously he does end up flipping, but that's kind of something we had seen of like weeks out in advance that could happen. Justin says if we can get Ricks and Denver Harris, secondary should be good for at least 2 to 3 years. I completely agree. There's other cornerbacks in this room that I like as well, but and let's not forget LaTerrence Welsh. I'm also pretty high on from last year's class, going into year 2, but we'll see. Kenneth asked for any new portal signs. I mean, they signed 3 defensive linemen last night, so I think that quells a lot of that concern. They can move on, and they obviously got Aaron Anderson last week. They can move on to either more positions of need, whether that's depth at certain positions. I would think we'll see what they do at the cornerback position now that if they can get Ricks. Do you just kind of roll with Harris and Ricks, or like I said, LaTerrence Welsh? You need back end depth there at the DB spot, so I'm interested in that as well. All right, what signees? What signees have a chance to start day one against Florida State? I think I mentioned them at the beginning here. For those maybe who weren't listening, I went through Zaylen Hurd, Deshaun Womack, Javian Toviano, Jalen Brown, and DJ Chester. I think Hurd has the best chance by far, because you look at it, and I think the offensive line is still going to be young, right? You have Dellinger. Let me see if LSU got a commit while I was talking. They did not. But you look at Dellinger, you look at Will Campbell, and a lot of the names on the offensive line are kind of young. I think Hurd can slide into that tackle position, and kind of put LSU in a good place on the offensive line to grow for years to come. And obviously, I think we might have taken it for granted having 2 offensive linemen starting at the offensive tackle spots this year, but Zaylen Hurd is a guy who he's the top 4 at his position as offensive tackle, and he's an absolute monster. So, yeah, Zaylen Hurd is a guy. Deshaun Womack is another one I mentioned, could start at the jack position if everything goes right. He'll have some competition to beat out, but I look at him too. And then if they do end up getting Desmond Ricks, you could throw him in that mix as well. So those are the 3 I think I would point to and say those guys could be day 1 starters, but that's a long ways away. Asked about Jordan Hall tomorrow. I believe all signs point that he's not coming to LSU. Just off of, and again, if you're subscribed to the Bengal Tiger on 3, I think there's been posts about that the past few days. So we'll see about that. Snow's my buddy asked if the portal transfers can play in the bowl game. No, that's for 2023. It's the 2023 class. They'll be going next. When is Shelton signing? I believe it's at 1. I believe it's at 1. And it's kind of been, I don't want to say, guys have been lying or anything like that, but I think like Kamorian Pimpton said 11 o'clock Central Time, and it ended up being 12 o'clock Central Time. So I don't know. Sometimes players just say the wrong time or whatever. All right, Ryan asked, with all the receivers we have, who will start? I mean, you have Kayshawn, you have Malik. I think those are the two. Brian Thomas Jr. I love. So I start with those three, and then I fill in everybody else around them, right? So you can put Aaron Anderson in the slot if you want. You can put different guys in there, but I think you start with those three: Butte, Brian Thomas, and Malik Neighbors, and you move from there. Snows, my buddy, says 2 p.m. for Shelton. So for those who are wondering, Shelton Sampson, 2 p.m. Let's see if there's anybody else. Yeah, we'll go through all the players that have not signed yet. Don't worry about that. Coaching staff has done a great job. Does the portal go crazy? Yeah, okay, that's actually a decent question. Does the portal go crazy after Friday, or do you see it happening more so in January? Well, you have the 45 days, so we're about 16 days in. I think it was December 5th in. I think the portal definitely starts to pick up after Friday. I just you hear from coaches and you hear their priority list. It's like this past week and even the past 2 weeks, while they have entertained transfer portal guys, I think a majority of their emphasis has been on getting this 2023 class in. That's for LSU, at least. That they have been so focused on the 2023 class that, you take Aaron Anderson, you take these defensive linemen, that's awesome. And I don't think this pertains to LSU specifically, but I think the portal as a whole just really starts to pick up more as far as visits, as far as commitments and all that good stuff. I think players really start to find homes after Friday. That would be my guess, though, just off of the timelines that we have to work with at this point. All right. Bruce Steele asks, should LSU pick up Xavier from Mississippi State? You need at least 2 returners. Anderson has health issues. If Anderson has health issues, they're back at square one. I mean, I think it's easy. I mean, it's easy for me to say, right? I think you look at the roster, and I think there are plenty of guys that can return kicks now, even with Aaron Anderson. If Aaron Anderson doesn't work out, I mean, just from this class alone, Jaylen Brown returns kicks at a pretty high level. Kyle Parker returns kicks. Kai Preen returns kicks. So that's 3 just from this class. And then, you like to think whether it is a Landon Ibieta, whether it is who knows, maybe Malik Neighbors gets back there again and figures it out. But I think they're okay at the punt return position for now. Let's see if there's anything else here. Kyle Parker, losing Austin Hurts. Okay, I think we're caught up. All right, let's keep rolling down this class here. Y'all keep putting in your comments, and we'll keep answering them. The next group here that is signed now. Also, Jackson Howard is in this group. I don't know if he's marked as signed yet. Actually, let me refresh the page, and then he'll probably be there. Okay, well, let's go with this group here. My thoughts on this group. Kylan Jackson, Tyree Adams, Ricky Collins. Obviously, Ricky Collins is the big name here at quarterback because quarterbacks are always the big names. But Kylan Jackson, man, 6'2", basically 200 pounds, number 11 safety in the class. Out of Zachary, I mean, some people probably already saw him out of Zachary, whether it's in person or, they played Woodlawn on TV. Man, he is big. He is physical, and he's not afraid to hit people. He's not afraid of contact, let's just say. So Kylan Jackson's the guy I'm really interested in. I like him out of Zachary. Tyree Adams out of St. Aug, number 14 offensive tackle in this class. I really think Tyree Adams has a lot of potential to grow. And obviously everybody in this class has room to grow, right? Everybody has potential. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking here when I say that they have potential. But Tyree Adams, you look at him, 6'6", 283 pounds. If you watch him, you just when I watch him, I'll say this. I feel like it's obvious that he just needs to get in the nutrition program and the strength program, and then he's bound to take off. Like, you get him to 300 pounds, 305 pounds, and then I want to see what it looks like. Then I want to see how Tyree Adams performs at the next level. So I do think he's a freshman. As a freshman, I think he's likely to redshirt and kind of go from there. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with redshirting as freshmen. We got to remember that even though they had Emory Jones and they had Will Campbell starting as freshmen, that is not normal. Okay. Plus, they have Zaylen Hurts sliding in, so it'll be a lot of competition there. Ricky Collins at quarterback. I wrote this in my in my story. And yeah, y'all can keep for those just joining as we continue to go up. Y'all can leave your comments, questions preferably, I think, in the chat, and we'll get to them. We're going for about 30 minutes or so. Ricky Collins is someone that he dropped a bit in the rankings a bit. I think he's at 14 right now in the consensus. I can understand why the throwing motion is kind of long. If you look at it, it's kind of like a little unorthodox. I think it can be cleaned up pretty simple, or not simply, but with some work, get cleaned up with Joe Sloan. So I feel good about Ricky Collins there. But man, he is an athlete. Jeez, I mean, if y'all have watched him, he's an incredible athlete, and maybe not as fast as Jaden Daniels is, but just a lot more overall. He was a high jumper. He can play basketball. He can do a lot of different things at a high level. So I like his athleticism a lot, and I think he can be just a natural playmaker. Now, with that being said, Ricky Collins will have people to beat out, and he will have constant competition, and he will have to improve significantly to get on the field at LSU. All right, let's just because he's a great quarterback from Baton Rouge. We like him. I think that's all great, but he will have. Let's just assume Nussmeier and Howard stay, right? That's two right there, and that's for the foreseeable future. And then you have Colin Hurley coming in behind him, right? And then if they don't like how someone's performing, maybe they go get a portal quarterback. Like, it's just going to be a complete a competition every step of the way for Ricky Collins. But I do like his tools, and I think he has a pretty high upside in this class. All right, before we move on, let's see if we got any other questions. LSU racking up a phenomenal class, Barry says. Justin says Oregon flipping everybody. Yeah, they are 100% flipping everybody. Jake Daly asked, what receiver from this class makes an instant impact? If we're not including Aaron Anderson, I think Shelton's. Ooh, that's tough. I think Shelton Sampson. I think again, if we go through the receivers here, we got Sheldon Sampson, Jalen Brown, Kyle Parker, and Kai Preen. Prean, I think it's pronounced. But you look at those four, I think Sheldon Sampson, while he has a lot of room to grow physically, I think he still is just such an elite playmaker that there's a chance he could get on the field fairly early. Now, with Kayshawn coming back, I think maybe that the opportunity of playing time is minimized a little bit, and maybe that opens it for Jalen Brown or Parker to break in maybe at a slot position or in different spots. But Shelton Sampson is the best receiver in this class, and I just want to see him on the field. He's great. Okay. Targeting on the pod. That's a great name. What's the status on Denver Harris? Nothing's changed over the past few days. I mean, they visited with them. They was it's all all good at this point. So if you got Denver Harris and they kind of move from there, if they can get Desmond Ricks, you got to look at a cornerback combination that you really like there. So I don't have anything new on Denver Harris. If y'all have updated over the past few days, I feel like it's all been on the 2023 class, which is kind of what I'm saying. It's like if they can get Denver Harris, I feel like it's not going to be too reliant on Desmond Ricks, because I feel like LSU just needs a ton of corners. Like, there's no the cupboard is bare, guys. It's just bare. And now Dalen Austin gone, Jalen Davis Robinson gone, Mekhi Garner, Jerick Bernard Converse, Colby Richardson. Go down the list. The McGee and Ray Darius gone. Like, it's just bare. So yeah, I think Denver Harris. We'll see how that all plays out, but I think it'd be. I'm not worried if they get Desmond Ricks that they'll lose Denver Harris. That's what I'll say. All right. Try not to answer portal questions too much, even though I know a lot of y'all have portal questions. We're going to try to keep this recruiting for the most part because it is signing day. Let's see if there's anything else. Kenneth says, I would expect today's signed tight ends to see the field in 2023. We need them. So you have Mac Markway, you have Kamorian Pimpton, and you have Jackson McGowan as the three tight ends there. And I do agree they need tight ends in the worst way possible. I mean, while Cole Taylor's gone, Jack Mashburn's still there, so whatever, you have a blocker. But Mason Taylor was basically the wire to wire starter at tight end once they got comfortable with him. He rarely came off the field. I would love it if one of McGowan or Pimpton could spot him some minutes here or there. I think Pimpton and McGowan are more. Got to be careful here because Mason Taylor was awesome this year. I don't want to take anything away from Mason Taylor, and it's not easy to do what he did. But Pimpton and McGowan are a little bit more flexible as receivers, I would say, than what Mason Taylor was. That doesn't mean they're going to be better, but they do have the receiving ability at a higher level, in my opinion, than what Mason Taylor had coming out of high school. So I'm really high on McGowan. Pretty high on Pimpton as well. We don't know what Mac Markway 100 really looks like at this point because he missed the last 2 years basically. So, if you go watch his tape, you're watching 2020 tape, and I just don't feel comfortable evaluating off 2020 tape. So that'll be interesting to see how those guys, if they can get on the field early and often. And then that would also require, they did go to a lot of 11 personnel this past year, right? With the receivers. Okay, just making sure I don't miss any commitments here, but I think they went to 11 personnel, so it was fine having Mason Taylor on the field. If they did have Mason and another, they would change personnel, maybe take a receiver off the field. I just don't know how exactly Denbrock wants to approach this season. So, all right, I think I've answered most of these before, but I'll keep going. Next chapter asked biggest immediate defensive contributor. It's Deshaun Womack. Deshaun Womack is my pick. He's an absolute monster. I kind of saw him I kind of mentioned it earlier in the stream, but Deshaun Womack is my pick. So we can keep going down the list. Deshaun Womack is my number 2 in this class. It's Hurd and Womack, and then you have a little bit change in disparity from the consensus, but those are the 2 that I love there. So all right, I think we got everybody. Okay. All right, let's keep rolling down the list here of signees. Markway, I kind of already talked about. Haven't seen him for a couple years. It's tough to really evaluate him, but I trust our evaluators. I trust Billy, who's high on him as well. So Mac Markway there. Ryan Yates is an interesting prospect here. He played a ton of corner at Denton Guyer, but he will be more than likely asked to play safety or maybe nickel at LSU. I want to see him be a little bit more physical if he is playing one of those 2 spots. He's not the biggest, as 6'1", 175. I think he plays kind of slim, but he's really good feet, good technique. Just sometimes I think gets overpowered, and that's a concern for me. So I don't expect him to see him year 1, but Ryan Yates is a candidate, I think, to be a pretty good player out of Denton Guyer. Trey Hawley, I mean, everybody here, I think, should know Trey Hawley if you're from Louisiana. The all-time leading rusher in Louisiana history as far as yards go. I mean, one of the most productive players in the country at the high school level in his career. So Trey Hawley is an interesting pickup. I think it's easy for evaluators and people to watch film and be like, he's 5'7", not the fastest guy. He's not exactly Darren Sproles out here, but he is extremely creative. I think that's what I'll say about Trey Hawley. He's creative, navigates space really well, and I'm interested to see. We watched Josh Williams this past year at 5'8" be a really, really good back for LSU. So why can't Trey Hawley, if he can do all the other things like Josh Williams can do, like can he pass protect? Can he catch out of the backfield? Can he fight for extra yards here? If he can do those things, I don't see why Trey Hawley can't succeed at the next level. Kamorian Pimpton, fan favorites. Everybody loves. Oh, sorry. Billy's just tweeting all of his stories now, so that's good. We're getting him going. But Kamorian Pimpton, everybody loves him. I like him. That's what I'll say. I like Kamorian Pimpton. On3 has him as the number 6 tight end in the class. That's really, really high. I think they have him at 93. So he's 6'6". I mean, he's a monster. If you watch the tape, he's basically playing jump ball out there. You throw it up and he just catches it. He's taller than everybody. He has really, really good hands. He just doesn't have a lot of intermediate to short flexibility, I would say. I think that's going to be interesting to see how Pimpton evolves his game past just being a tall guy that can catch passes. The blocking I thought was decent on tape as well. I'm interested to see how he grows in that aspect. But I mean, he's 6'6". That's the appeal, right? He's 6'6" with good hands. How much more do you want? How much more do you want out of Pimpton? He's a good player. All right, let's roll through these 3. Kyle Parker, Lucas Lovejoy, kind of a do-it-all type guy at 5'10". Plays a little bigger than I think people give him credit for. but he can return kicks. He's a slot guy. He's a gadget type guy. It's kind of like Aaron Anderson was out of high school, but Aaron Anderson was rated and ranked significantly higher than Parker. So, maybe Parker will be the backup to Aaron Anderson this year, but we'll see how he develops. Good pickup there. Wilt Weeks at linebacker. I love Wilt Weeks. He's in the top. I think he's in the top 7 or 8. No, probably top 8 of my class rankings. Like if I had to put him, I think he is just very, very different from West Weeks. He's faster. He's a really great athlete. Caught passes on offense. Could break runs at running back. Whit Weeks is a very, very, very talented player and a really good athlete in space. And that's not taking anything away from West Weeks, but Whit is just faster. Seems like just a better player to me. So I'm interested to see how Whit does at the next level. Kai Prion, great athlete, and I think that there's a reason why the word athlete is here, right? Like he has some polishing to do at receiver, and that's I think for anybody who watches this tape or maybe saw him on 3 kind of experts, Charles Power did a great job evaluating Kai Prion. But basically, he has some work to do, I think, with his hands. And a lot of times he catches the ball with his body a little bit too much. He doesn't look super comfortable with hand placement when catching the ball, or how he wants to use his body on routes. So he has some work to do, but the athleticism is there. Obviously, I mean, he's a 4-star guy, and I just said he struggles with catching the ball, so that should tell you how damn talented he is or athletic he is. Let's see if we have any questions before we go move on. Did the defense attack from Georgia sign you, and where? Trying to think. God, there's so many players in my head right now. All right, let's go to Jerry's question. Is the lack of a linebacker recruit concerning? Well, they have, like I said, here they got these 2 right here. Whit Weeks and Christian Brathwaite, I think, are both solid players. They're not Harold Perkins. I don't even know if they're probably not as good as DeMario Tolan as prospects, even though I really like Whit Weeks. Is it concerning? No, because they have enough youth there. If Harold Perkins is the inside linebacker, DeMario Tolan's there, and Greg Penn, let's not forget, that was only a second season last year in the program. If you have those 3 as a foundation, you have Wes Weeks, who's still pretty young, and then you add these 2 guys. I mean, you're looking at 5 guys that are all pretty young for the most part. So I think the depth is there. Obviously, I would have loved, if they could get a 5-star linebacker, of course, but that's not always the case here. Carl Joseph asked if I could see any of these receivers switching corner. Kai Prion is a great athlete. I don't know. I don't think he could play corner. He didn't play it in high school, so I'd have to see. The Sheldon Sampson, I don't know. Y'all will have to tell me. I'm looking at y'all right now. Y'all are my full attention. I probably should get off here pretty soon, but it's been 30 minutes. But I don't know. Y'all can tell me if Sheldon Sampson has signed at this point. Waiting for my phone to vibrate. Okay, yeah, there you go. Bryce Roberts sees Kai swapping to the defense side of the ball. Sure, I could see it. I mean, again, I didn't see that. Obviously, I feel like that would be a long-term project if that is the case. Like, that's not something I don't think can happen this year as far as like him playing on the defense side of the ball. I don't want I don't want that this year. But if that's the case and you put him over there this year and you wait, you're like, okay, as a redshirt sophomore, then we see what he is at DB. Okay, I'm cool with it. All right. Shelton signs in the next hour, I'm being told. Okay, cool. All right, let's roll through the rest of these and get out of here. Said I wasn't gonna go over 30, but here we are, 31 minutes. Brathwaite, I like kind of like a striker type linebacker, gets downhill really well. Going to be interesting to see how he continues to round out his game because he is a good athlete. Michael Doherty, really fast playmaker type on defense in the back end. Could see him at nickel. Could see him at the back end at safety. Out of Georgia, plays for obviously a good school in Grayson out there. Jackson McGowan, my guy. I've talked about him earlier in the in the stream. McGowan is an incredible playmaker. Has a lot of natural ability. I mean, he's basically like a receiver. 6'4", 234. I know that's kind of on the heavier side for receivers, but man, he moves like a receiver. Like there's not a lot of tight end prospects you watch and you're like, dang, this guy's getting jet sweeps, or this guy's getting bubble screens to break runs. Like he's running past people as a tight end in Ohio. So I love Jackson McGowan. Dylan Carpenter Physically, I think he has the tools and the traits, which can be said about a lot of guys, but I think he's a good depth piece. Can kind of fill in that defensive end spot, not the jack spot. I think these are more of a true like Ollie type defensive end there. So Dylan Carpenter's a fine pickup in the back end from Saint Amant, Louisiana. Ashton Stamps, another guy I'm fine with taking out of Metairie. Um, 3-star type guy. We saw him in camp. I was really high on him in camp. You watch his film, it's not as dynamic or as fluid, I think, as a lot of people would want, but still, no problem at all. Some people are really high on Stamps. I think he's a fine player, but just the caliber of defensive back you have to be to play at LSU in the coming years, I think is going to have to be really, really high. So that's going to be interesting. Let's see if we got anybody else. I'm just reading comments right now. Okay. All right. Let's roll through these guys and get out of here. Shelton Sampson has not signed yet, unless if y'all can tell me that he has signed. But it doesn't matter. He's going to sign. All right. He's going to sign. Basically a 5-star receiver, high 4-star, number 36 player in the country in the consensus, number 6 receiver in the consensus, number 4 on 3. Shelton Sampson is, again, my most likely candidate as a receiver to play year one. I think it's going to be tough because you look at I don't think he's going to step in and be better than Brian Thomas. Not going to be better than Kayshawn and Malik year one. So you have those 3 guys automatically. But as a backup, I think there's a lot of snaps that he could definitely get this year. I don't think he redshirts. I think he gets on the field in almost every game. And I think he's going to be really, really good. He's awesome. He's awesome. Shelton Sampson's awesome. I don't have any groundbreaking analysis for you. Shelton Sampson's awesome. Watch the tape. Caleb Jackson's an interesting back. He missed most of this past season with an injury in his ankle, but his junior tape is phenomenal. He did drop as a result of the injury in the rankings. They went from, I think, 8 or 9 to 12. That is kind of significant, but I mean, he is in a straight line runner. You're not going to find many better than him. He's powerful. He's fast. He sheds guys really well. My questions for him is, what can he do on after the first cut? He's not the most mobile laterally. He's not the quickest, fleetest of foot as far as changing directions. But once he gets downhill, just move out the way. It's a train. It's a train coming. Jeremiah Hughes, I liked his tape a lot. Bishop Gorman, originally from Arkansas, I loved his tape. A guy, it's similar to Ashton Stamps. It's like you have to be so good to play corner at LSU. I think that starting next year, or I mean this year, obviously, if they did, let's just say they get Harris Ricks and Terrence Welsh, and let's say they get a transfer in here, it's going to be high level play, okay, regardless of who's in there. But in the coming years, they're going to continue to recruit better. They're going to continue to develop those cornerbacks that are in there. It's going to be really, really hard to break through. But Jeremiah Hughes has the technical ability to play at LSU. It's just a matter of, will he be good enough when it's all said and done? I don't know the answer to that, but I love this tape. Paul Mabenga kind of rounds us out here. A really, really raw. I mean, I believe he didn't start playing football till 3 years ago. So you see that on tape, but he's also 6'4", 275, and he is an incredible athlete. Fast. Legitimately, Paul Mabenga is fast. So you get him signed, and you kind of worry about the rest later. Obviously, it's kind of a project there, but I like Paul Mabenga a lot. So Mabenga, Hughes, Jackson, Sampson are guys we're waiting on to sign still. Again, unless y'all can tell me something different. But that's pretty good here. We're sitting here at how many signees we got? 20, 21 at this point? Whew. I spent hours. Get y'all's questions in, and I'll wrap this up. But, man, spent all day yesterday watching the film of all these guys. And it's on our site. My scouting reports on every player that signs to LSU on the site. Full breakdowns and a lot more depth, including highlight clips. So y'all can all check those out. And let me know what y'all think. Probably have my signing class rankings out tonight. Probably just on the board, and then just get flamed by everybody because it's not. I try to color a little bit outside the lines here. We'll see. Oh, here's a good question from Carl. How many early enrollees? Oh man, do I really want to look this up right now? Let's see. See if I can get early enrollees here. Someone on our site, shout out Conroe Tiger 7, because there's a story on it on our site, but I'm not gonna look that up. Conroe Tiger 7 actually did a list of the signees. So let's look. Out of high school, Deshaun Womack, Javian Toviano, Jalen Brown, and this is according. I'm gonna trust him here. I'm gonna trust Conroe Tiger because I think these are right, if my memory serves. Deshaun Womack, Javian Toviano, Jalen Brown, Jackson Howard, Trey Hawley, Mac Markway, Ricky Collins, Whit Weeks, Kyle Parker, Michael Doherty, Jeremiah Hughes, and Jackson McGohan is the list of high school commits that are planning to early enroll according to Conroe Tiger, and I think those are all right. Obviously, then you have your 4 transfers: Aaron Anderson, Jalen Lee, Braden Swinson, Parrish Shed. If Desmond Ricks goes to LSU, then I believe he will also be an early enrollee. And then I think I'm not sure about Kamorian Pimpton, but I believe he might be. Conroe Tiger has Kamorian Pimpton down as an early enrollee. So shout out to the boy Conroe Tiger 7. But those are the early enrollees. And yeah, there you have it. Nice little. If y'all have any questions, shoot them my way. I feel bad. We have a ton of viewers here still, so I don't want to leave y'all hanging out to dry. But okay. See, Colin Cerrone says Pimpton is not. So there you go. Ricks is, yeah. I knew what Ricks was, but yeah, says Pimpton is not. So we have a ton of y'all. Thank you all for being here. 250 plus people on the stream. I had no idea how many people would join here. I just wanted to get something up. Like I said, Billy and Shay will be doing a full podcast that will be up very, very soon, whether tonight or tomorrow morning early. We'll see how that all goes. I believe they're going to get one done before Desmond Ricks makes his decision. So be on looking for that. Obviously, those guys are the pros. They're the best. They are LeBron and Wade out here at this recruiting stuff. Man, they are awesome. So let's see what else we got here. All right, here we go. Ronald McGee asked, do you think the 2 running backs signed can get LSU running back game back to the level we are used to seeing? It's a good question because I agree with you. I don't think if you look at Josh Williams, John Emery, Armani Goodwin, Noah Kane was the running back room this past year. It's not up to par, in my opinion. I'm sorry. Like John Emery, in theory, obviously was a 5-star at one point. He was not, he's not a 5-star. He's not at this point in his career. He's not that level of guy. I think the running back room has to take significant steps forward. Caleb Jackson, I think, has the potential to do that. Trey Hawley, I'm not sure, has the potential to be special at that level. Now, he was great in high school. I'm not taking anything away from him. I think he can be a good contributing back for LSU. I just don't know if he has that type of, offense changing talent. Caleb Jackson might. I think he'll have to continue to improve, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go portal for a running back at some point and just continue to build that room because they need playmakers there. They need playmakers. John Emery was good. I'm not taking anything away from him. Josh Williams was awesome this past season. He was awesome. I really like him, but you need guys that can. I mean, if you ranked LSU's running back room in the SEC, where would you rank it? That's my question to you. Like, it feels like every game we went into, and I mean, even Florida State, every game we went to this past season, we're like, well, they have Tank Bigsby, they have Devon Achane, they got all those Florida State running backs. They just got guys. Ole Miss, Judkins, like. Go down the list. Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't know. You just need guys like that at some point, and that's what I'm interested to see. Okay. Anything else? Oh, we have influx of comments here. Y'all gonna keep me here all day. I'm hungry. What time? Whoa. There's too many names here. I am forgetting. Daniel, I went through the early enrollees about 3 minutes ago. So after this is done, you can probably scroll back and find it. Colin Cerrone using it today as a reason to stay as far away from recruiting as possible. Hey, man. Hey, look, I just don't. I stay in my lane. Billy and Shay got it locked down. Those dudes, and Peter also contributes as well with his coach's corner and stuff like that. They dudes are cold. But yes, today is very, very taxing. But hey, I suit up once a year. Early signing day is the big time. This year they got 25 signees. Spent all day yesterday watching tape. The day before writing up pre-writes. We are just going. We're high off life right now, man. Doing great. All right, we'll end it with this. Daniel says it's a great class. It is a great class. I don't know if they're going to finish 5th, 6th, 7th. I don't know, and I don't care. We'll see what it finishes after Desmond Ricks. But, I mean, Texas is getting a lot of guys. A lot of teams are getting a lot of highly rated guys. as long as, I mean, LSU gets the guys that they need, which at this point they are. If they get Desmond Ricks, I'm thrilled with this class. You get Pimpton, you get Ricks, you lose Austin, but it's, at the end of the day, you're going to lose somebody, and it's tough to keep California kids around. But it's a great class overall. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. 42 minutes for y'all. This will be available. I think you'll be able to watch this back on our YouTube channel as well, so you can go check that out if you missed anything or missed the beginning of it. But yeah, went through all 25 players, answered your questions. Feel like that went well. Good job. Again, Billy and Shay Recruiting Podcast out very, very soon. Check that out on the YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube if you haven't already. And yeah, thank you all for joining me. Subscribe to the Bengal Tiger on 3 if you haven't already. I have a hat. There you go, on 3. But yeah, check out the site. I appreciate y'all for joining me, and I will talk to y'all later.